My name is Vallières. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a queer, non-binary, neurodivergent artist living in Toronto, and I do ceramic, textile, and printmaking. What inspired me to make the textile piece that I made for the show, I wanted to make something really colorful, just trying to brighten up my day with colors that were satisfying. The textile piece that I made is a really large, mostly 2D, and it's kind of like an art quilt. So it is these 3 emotion wheels that are in different color gradients, and attached to them are these dancing disjointed legs that are mostly naked but wearing boxers with these emotion wheels. And then there's kind of like guttural snakes that are really colorful all around them. And then on the border, there's these eyeballs with the eye stems that are looking at these blue masks. I used a lot of bed sheets and fabric that I had laying around the house because I didn't necessarily have access to go to stores. And so I would say the size of my piece is kind of like an extra large king size bed sheet. It's pretty big. I've had to rearrange my front apartment to work on it. In regards to the tactile side of it, so there's some 3D aspects, like the snakes are kind of like this long fabric tube that I kind of colored on with markers and crayons. So that's kind of like a 3D lump. For the emotion wheels, like when I kind of scrunch them all together, I kind of like to think of it as like gray brain matter or like brain folds. So it's all like crinkled up. And so the parts that I use crayon on are more waxy and kind of icky feeling. So that's kind of like the brain part of it. For the legs, I use 3 different colors of like a nylon silky material to kind of like the feeling of skin. So for the emotion wheels, I kind of use that as a starting off point because one of the themes that had been thrown out was alexithymia. These emotion wheels are kind of used to kind of like pinpoint which feeling you're feeling. And during the pandemic, for a lot of people, it's been really hard to describe what they're feeling. It changes on a day-to-day basis. So I kind of put those in and I scrunched them up kind of as a way to show just kind of like this confusion that like in theory you can say that we're feeling grief, but what does that actually mean? But I also really wanted to express that these emotions are just kind of like words sometimes, that it's harder to kind of explain what those words mean. And so I really wanted the piece to be a really like corporal, guttural, physical, because that's how a lot of the time I feel like I experience emotions and feelings is more in my body. The eyeballs are kind of with these red stalks, and they're kind of just with everyone wearing like toques and masks, and you're just seeing these eyeballs. And I feel like everyone is just really hyper focused on what everyone else is doing, keeping their distance. In adding so much color, it's kind of like color vomit on the piece right now, but I really wanted to kind of get across the daily sensory overload and how that's kind of been exacerbated during the pandemic, especially everyone's on high alert right now. So I wanted people to kind of have this bodily, corporal feeling when they look at the piece, like feel it inside of their body, not just inside of their brain, because I feel like that's what a lot of the experience of the pandemic has been for me. But also I want people to get joy from it with all the colors and just kind of brighten up when they see it. In regards to talking about mental health and mental illness and making art, that's always been important for me in terms of processing what I'm going through. I know that I've made art at my worst of times and then also at my best of times. So it's something that's continuously with me, and that when I'm having problems communicating what I'm feeling or what I'm going through, I can make art for myself, and that's a way to process it without necessarily talking out loud. I've always made art since I was really young, and as I grew older, it just became more evident that it's an integral part of my functioning on a day-to-day basis. It helps me process a lot of things. I really enjoy the repetitive nature of making art. So as I grew older, I also realized the more that I make art for myself and just continuously practicing, it improves my mental health a lot. And I've also been able to connect with a lot of other people through the work that I'm making and have discussions with them about the topics that are in my pieces.